All right, welcome to Mojo Monday, where mindset plus emotions accelerates your results. I am so excited to be sharing some of the things that I've learned through experience, through education, and bringing it all to you to help you guys have the results and success you're wanting at the pace that you're wanting it. I wanted to first just start off like all of these 8 a.m. calls with if anybody has a win that they want to share, to shout themselves out or to shout a teammate out. um, Go ahead and unmute, and we'll just do that for just a minute.
I'm just going to shout out our whole team that showed up for this Eric Worre GoPro training, and you, Marcianne, for stepping in and saying yes to going pro and taking on that personal training. I was looking through yesterday all the things included in it, and I'm so excited for you to do that. And Val for being our expert note taker. Oh my gosh. I am so grateful for her note-taking skills because
Amen.
I feel like our whole team is benefiting from this. So, yes, it's so good. Such a good weekend of training. And I'm gonna watch the last couple hours. So, as much as I had busyness going on all weekend, I am gonna say my win is that I still got caught up on the training and took the extra time to catch up on what I missed yesterday or the day before. And I'm gonna catch up today when it comes. It should be on now, so I have dedicated time to catch up on the first 2 hours that I missed yesterday.
Love it. Thanks, Jen. Anyone else have something? Val?
Yeah, I'm excited. So I locked in for GoPro all 3 days, no distractions, no multitasking. I took 45 pages of notes. So I basically wrote a book this weekend. I subcategorized all of the notes into topics and categories so we can use it as a tool for training and we don't have to search through all 40 pages to find the information we're looking for. So that was exciting. And then I did a call with Amanda and we possibly sold an elite kit. She just needs to follow up with her and see. I did use some of the tactics and strategies from the training to in that call, so I'm hoping that was helpful. There are some things in retrospect that I'm looking back on that I wish I did a little bit differently. But yeah, so that was exciting. I loved how her and I got to bounce off and do that call together. And that's my win for the weekend. Oh, and this dress I haven't been able to fit into in a year, and it fits. And not only does it fit, but it fits. I can actually sit down, and it's not pushing against my skin. So that makes me happy.
So many wins, and I want to shout out Val as well and Jen. um like showing up, leading with us. Like, it is so refreshing to have leaders that are stepping in and sharing their God-given gifts and strengths and talents. And so it definitely helps because I am not perfect. We're not perfect, right? And so when we can collaborate together and use all of our gifts, it's incredible. So thank you guys all that share and show up. Okay, I am Marcy Ann. For those that don't know me, I am a Ruby leader here at Trinont. I'm also certified in life coaching and health and wellness coaching at an accredited coaching institution. And I specialize in mindset and emotions because that has changed my life. I have been in this industry off and on for the last 25 years, and I really started figuring it out, sort of, about 9 years ago when I hit a leader rank and I started earning the incentive trips and started burning out at an income level of around 30,000 a year, working 10 hours a day, hence the burning out. Have you ever heard the quote, work smarter, not harder? Put a one in the chat if you've ever heard that quote. I was definitely working harder, not smarter, hence the burnout. And I swore off this industry. If anyone has ever said that before, put a two in the chat. And I focused during that time, though, I focused on becoming a coach and gaining better life skills. And I learned that missing link to the working smarter, not harder. And that is where mindset, which I always knew mindset, put a three in the chat if you have always worked on mindset and you knew that mindset was key. Put a three in the chat. Okay, I'm getting hot. How many of you knew that adding emotions to those mindset affirmations is really what accelerates the results? Like emotions, like gratitude. If you haven't heard that, put a four in the chat, okay? Last month, being November, we heard a lot around gratitude and being grateful for where we're at, grateful for the things. And last week specifically, which I asked Sarah Hollingsworth, she said they're not uploading all those recordings on those Rise and Thrives. Um, so I don't know that it's going to be uploaded, but it was an amazing one on emotional intelligence, like emotions. And then those of you that were on the Eric Worre and heard what was his name? Was it Brandon? Can't remember his name, but he did the whole conscious mind, subconscious mind. That is exactly what I have learned. And he talked about the emotional brain. I'm going to use it in a different way than he did because it all kind of works together. So the smarter link is repetition with emotions accelerates those results. So as you're doing mindset, as you're doing things, you really have to get in that state of gratitude, get in that state of love, get in that state of appreciation and just excitement and like any of those emotions. And you probably know those emotions when you have your vibration high. Those are the emotions that you want to duplicate and attach them to. I do this in something that I call an affrillization because it's like taking an affirmation and turning it into a visualization because the key and the reason, the why behind a visualization is to feel the success right now as if you've already achieved it. It's not to do the mental rehearsal of the how-tos of getting there. It's actually to sit in appreciation that you've already achieved the goals that you're wanting to achieve. The visualization, the vision that you have, the why that you have, that you've already achieved it. That's the point, the why behind that. And as I was learning this, I kind of put this into practice, and I was probably a little bit of a skeptic. I don't know about you being a skeptic, but I had some things. I wrote out some affirmations, but attached emotion to them as if they were already solved. And I did it around a couple of things that I had been procrastinating big time. One of those was a scrapbook for my son. He had been home already almost a year from his mission, and his birthday was coming up in 2 months. And I had been telling myself, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for months on end. Use the chat. If you have something that you've told yourself over and over and over again that you're going to do it, you're going to do it, you're going to do it, but you have yet to do it. Just share that in the chat if you feel free. So I wrote it out and I just said, I am thankful that his scrapbook is finished. He was so excited when he opened it on his birthday. And so I just kind of used that type of language and I just started reading it every day. I didn't put the pressure on myself to go force myself to do it. Although we can do that with our conscious mind, we can take the actions. That's what I was doing in my business in the past, where I was taking the actions with my conscious mind. But the success is really when you get your subconscious mind to do it on autopilot. And all of a sudden, after about a week to a week and a half of reading that every day, it was just like, oh, today's the perfect day. And I got on and I got it done. And it took only a couple of hours and it was finished. Like that's easy, right? When you automatically feel aligned and your energy feels aligned to getting it done, that's easy. Um, so fast forward to kind of Trinot here, right? I came in for a product. If you've had a product experience and that was your reason why, add it to the chat, add which product it is. I know Val just shared her win on a continual win on her product win there. But so that was me. But remember, I had swore off this industry. I was not gonna do it. And poor Jen. I would be like, okay, tell me a little bit. No, 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 no. Okay, tell me a little bit more. No, 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 no. Like I did that. I don't know how many times I did that. And then when Transform launched and I'm logging into my back office and I'm seeing that there's volume because of how our comp plan works, because I got in when I got in, I was like, all right, Jen, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. And it was right around this time that I had been taking classes on this whole mindset, emotions things. I had already implemented that whole scrapbook thing. Um, and I worked consistently and I did the things and then something came up, the huge stock out. If you were here during that stock out, you probably know my pain. And I realized that emotionally I wasn't there yet. That was still a weak link and I was like, nope, I got more learning to do type of a thing. And I did. I jumped out. And what I learned too from that is my stress response. There's fighting, there's fleeing, there's freezing, and then there's something that's called fawning. But mine was, well, all of those kind of in a way, but
God damn it.
nope. All of those take a role. Like fawning is where this is where you let other people's opinions shape what you're doing. How many of you guys do that, right? How many of you are afraid to do something because you're afraid of the judgment that you might get? That's called fawning. If you're a person who freezes, is like you just don't take action because you're just freezing, that's just your stress response system. If you're someone who runs away, that's your stress response system, and that was key in me. And so learning about emotions and our stress response, our emotions actually can attach to our conscious mind, which is what we're doing with those affirlizations, but they can also attach to your kind of the amygdala part, that's your stress response system. And when those emotions are high, that's when those things are there. But if you can get out of that amygdala, the stress response system, and get back into the conscious mind, doing that through things like breathing and stuff, that's where all of a sudden you can have that accelerating those results. Your conscious mind plus emotions accelerates those results. So again, I learned more and more and more. I learned those things. I learned about the stress response system. I was doing all the things. I didn't give up Trinont. I was still doing it. I would still plug in. I wasn't consistent. I was still plugging in. I was maintaining the Jade rank on my top account from the work that I had done consistently for about 2 months. And I was so grateful for maintaining that. And I realized that this comp plan works for me and my life, that I don't have to always be on at the top of my game, is what I mean by that. But there are a couple of skills that I wanted to share. But with that, in the last 6 months, when I really started implementing these 5 things that I did, my income grew 400%. I went from making $600 a month to making $3,000 a month. If you would like to grow your income by 400%, put 400% in the chat. Okay, so what are those things? Before I get into that, I actually really want to talk about the affirmations, the affirlizations real quickly again, because that is a skill that I implemented with these 5 steps, okay? It is writing out your vision and using words like I love, I'm so grateful, I have fun, this brings me joy. These are all emotions that we want to feel, and you actually can tell your subconscious mind to feel them, and it becomes easier and more natural to feel them, okay? And so you're going to use those types of things in your, especially the mundane things. How many of you kind of get bored with the mundane things, like inviting, like following up, like showing up, all of those things? You just get bored of those things. They're mundane things. Writing out an affirmation that says you enjoy it, that you love it, it lights your soul on fire, that it lights you up, it energizes you. As you attach those emotions to doing the skills, you will slowly over time, right? As you repeat that affirmation every single day, you will find that doing those mundane things are actually fun and enjoyable, and they light your soul on fire, and you enjoy it and you have fun. And that changes that vibration that we've heard about And that's where we get better results. When we do the skills on the vibrations, we get better results. But going back now to the 5 things that I did. The first thing, I stopped looking for evidence that fueled my doubts. In fact, I listed out all of the reasons why not to do this business. And I wrote out affrilizations and looked at the opposite of why to do them and how I could change my doubts into strengths. 2, I committed to consistency. I made a monthly list of what I committed to do that month, and I created an affirmation around it, and I repeated it every single day because that way I could remember what I had committed to. How many of you guys commit to something and then you even forget of what you even committed to? 3, I got clear on my vision, clear on my why and what unfolded in my life when I achieved my vision. And you guessed it, I used affirmations to create a little statement that I repeated day in and day out, attached with emotions. 4, I started focusing on evidence that my goals were on their way. Because did you know, I kind of literally did this earlier, but did you know you get to choose what you focus on? You can choose to focus on the negatives, the doubts, or you can choose to focus on the positives and the evidence that this is what you're here to do and this is, that you are on your way to achieving it. And then lastly, I plugged into the community and I invested in myself, like these calls, like our team huddles, like the overviews done by the Blue Diamonds. All of those things I plugged into those events. So I'm going to take just a moment to kind of go over in a little bit of details and sharing some of my affrilizations to kind of give you some examples. But before I do that, I want you to know you don't have to be perfect at this. Okay? You don't have to be perfect at it. As you practice it, you become better at it. As your belief grows in this affirmation skill set, the more you use it, the more you spend time. Like I will spend sometimes up to an hour or two when I rewrite a new affirmation because I know how important that mindset with emotions is to program my subconscious mind to make this easy. Okay, to make this easy. So, first is I stopped doubting. The biggest thing that kept me in this, kept me doubting is I so desperately wanted to please God and I wanted to make sure that I was doing what He wanted me to be doing in my life. I also knew from a young time, like before I even graduated high school, my career path was going to be a stay-at-home mom. So I had that identity in my subconscious mind, and I didn't work on changing that I could have both and more, that I could be a stay-at-home mom and I could be a business owner. I didn't ever work on changing that identity. And so anytime my stress levels kicked in and things got stressful and I noticed that it was impacting my mood, which impacted the way I showed up as a mom, I fled, right? And I used that as excuse that this must not be what God wanted me to do. However, I kept getting sucked back into it, right? I kept getting sucked back into it. And my friend actually, as I was learning some of these things, she called it the merry-go-round of hell. And I kept thinking that getting back into this industry was putting me on this merry-go-round of hell. But I reframed that recently. I realized that that was not the merry-go-round to hell. The merry-go-round to hell was that I kept pulling myself out of the industry because God kept putting it on my heart that this is where I am meant to be. This is where I have the growth, I have the impact, I can have the flexibility that I want as a stay-at-home mom, now stay-at-home grandma, empty nester. Like I'm an empty nester now, but I still gives me that flexibility to plug into it. So I reframed that doubt that the merry-go-round of hell is getting out of this industry, okay? Not that I kept getting back into it. Clearly, God kept prompting me to get back into it, but Satan just kept hijacking my thoughts. And what really helped me this time around, that this is really my core why, my purpose, my why, is as I was contemplating getting back in 100% committed this time, I heard this at one of my church conferences. Do not underestimate the importance of doing what we can to help rescue others from physical and spiritual challenges. And I realized the products rescued me, right? How many times does Jen Lori say, do not underestimate how much these products impact lives? Don't underestimate the power to change lives doing this, right? Turn on to change lives. And so I wrote that out in an affirmation to remind myself of that moment. One of the key things that makes writing out your affirmations is when you can take an aha moment. You know, the aha moment where all of a sudden your soul is like, yes, that is exactly what I needed to learn in that moment. Yes. And it's like pure intelligence. It's like pure inspiration. It's like God spoke to your soul in that moment. When you can add those quotes or takeaways into your affirmations, it helps you remember that emotion that you felt when you had that moment. And that is huge, again, to get back into that vibration, back into that emotion. So I started writing that out. And this is one of the affirmations that I wrote for that. I am 100% committed, and I cannot underestimate the importance to help rescue others from physical and spiritual challenges. I say no to doubting if Trinant is right because my faith is strong that God already said, yes, it is. And then another one of my, just kind of my holdups that maybe might resonate with you, and this was kind of the ick, and it's kind of talked about the ick, and I think Eric Worre talked about it. It's always talked about it. When we look at people as tools for our business to help us achieve our goals, it's ick, and we show up ick. But when we can flip that switch and look about serving and blessing and coming from a place of service, that's where that's where that's where the magic happens. And so I knew I get tunnel vision, and I want my goal so bad that I start looking at, as soon as I meet someone, I think, oh, they could help me do that. Or oh, I would also say, oh, they have that skill set for that, right? But it was ick. And so I wrote out this. Um, uh, I say no to seeing people and treating people as a tool for my business. I honor people's no's, and I say yes to serve and bless others. I say yes to be a light. And I repeated that over and over. So that way, when I see somebody who I think is going to be amazing at this business, I don't then internalize it to, oh, they're going to be the person that helps me get what I want. I can show up and serve and bless them. I don't know if that makes sense. If that makes sense, type it makes sense in the chat. Okay. If you have questions about each of these things, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm going to move on to number 2, committed to consistency. Have you heard that the fastest way to ruin your confidence is to break the promises to yourself? And that the fastest way to building confidence is to keeping your promises. So I got very clear on what I was ready to commit to. In fact, when I would go to the conventions and the conferences, I I showed up specifically differently at Trinot, and it would sound actually counterproductive because, doing the same thing over and over is a definition of insanity. And every time I'd go to my conventions in the past, actually almost every time I'd go to a convention, I would say I'm 100%, I'm all in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the top. And then I'd get home and I didn't have the skill set or the tools or whatever, or things would happen. And guess what? I would end up like leaving that company. So every time people would be like, get people to events. I'm like, get people to events. I quit after events. Okay. So I specifically showed up differently when I came to Trinot, and I was not all in. I was not all in. I was there to learn and grow and help me find that missing link that was happening. And that missing link was keeping the commitments to myself on what I was ready to do. It's good to set goals. It's good to write out those affirlizations to say you're committed and that you're all in. That is good. But making sure that the things that you commit to are the things that you're ready to commit to. Okay. If you can't commit to doing, 5 hours of work every day with this business, don't say that you commit to doing 5 hours of work. If you can't commit to showing up every day online on your social media, don't say that you're going to commit to showing up online every day to social media. You can set daily goals, you can set weekly goals, you can set monthly goals. The cool thing is as you as you keep your commitments, your confidence grows and you can up level and your consistency grows in your skill and in your timeline and what you're able to do, your consistency grows. So I wrote out a long list of things that I was ready to commit to. And then guess what? I read it every day so I would remember so that way I could keep my commitments. And some of those were a daily thing based on my skill set, where I was ready to do. And some of those was like a huge stretch goal and it was like a monthly thing. I think I said that I was willing to show up every day in connecting with somebody. I said I was ready to show up online consistently 4 to 5 days a week. I said that I was going to host my own in person event at my house by the end of the month, which terrified me, you guys. That terrified me for so many reasons. But those were some of the things. And guess what? I also said I was committed to setting boundaries because that was an area that I needed some help and work on, that I was committed to setting boundaries of like taking a day off. Because remember, I used to work like 10 hours a day, burning myself out, trying to force myself to be the person I needed to be because I wasn't using this tool. Okay. If you have questions around that, drop it in the chat. The third thing is I got clear on my vision. I already shared kind of the why. I realized my God-given purpose. Like I kind of knew it, but that just solidified it. And that solidified my belief that I knew that this was the right thing, that getting out was the merry-go-round of hell, that staying in and staying at Trinot was aligning with my purpose, aligning with that. But what I got better at was what unfolded for me. Yes, it's great that I know my purpose and it's great that I show up to serve and bless others and that I can help other people have success. In fact, that like doing this call, I'm going to leave today. My vibration is going to be so high because when I show up and serve and bless and love, I feel incredible. I feel good now. But my why really is my family. And it took my grandson realizing that I wanted it to be legacy, that I wanted to be able to connect with my family as I'm an empty nester. I don't have them at home. They're doing their own life. They choose to come home and it's optional for them to choose to come home now. They don't have to come home, okay? But I also want to do fun things with my family and I want to have like yearly reunions, whether that's in our home or somewhere else. I wanted to be able to, Tina Joy Carroll keeps talking about doing all these fun things with their grandkids. I want to be able, as my family grows, I want to be able to do grandparent days and grandparent trips. And I want to be able to do girls' retreats. I want to be able to get my daughters and my daughter-in-laws and my granddaughters. I want to create a sisterhood of family. I love that we get to do that here at Trinot, and I want to transfer that to my family, okay? My great grandchildren. Like, how amazing will it be when I'm at these sister retreats and my daughters and my daughter-in-laws and my granddaughters who've been attending these, have been attending these, and they look forward to when, I mean, that is rooted in Christ, in connection and bond. I mean, how many people have you heard share stories how it's really hard for them to show up because they're doubting their worth, they're doubting their confidence, they're doubting that they're worthy. And I want to be able to create that for my daughters. And I also want to have the income for my husband to take my sons and my grandsons and my son-in-laws to go do fun things that boys do. I don't know what's fun that boys do. And so I am just so grateful that the income, My husband has great income. That was also kind of something that was set me back, and I'll share about that oh, that was one of my doubts. And it's silly, okay? It's so silly. The doubts that Satan is so tricky at doing this. I would set this goal to create a certain amount of income with this business. And then within the next month or two or three, my husband would get a bonus that matched that exact income. Or my husband would get a raise that matched that exact income. And I use that as evidence that I was not supposed to be here. How silly is that? And I actually kind of had like this, like, oh, uh, jealousy. Jealousy that God gave it to my husband and not me. Like this kind of like this pride, like I deserve to earn it or something. Man, I let go of that. I let go of that. That income that comes in, like what a blessing. I don't care if it comes in through this business. I don't care if it comes in through my husband's career. I don't care if it comes in because I was able to use the money from this business and my husband's business to invest in something that then brought that money in. But I guess what? I do show up, and now, especially like with the last couple of weeks, I've upgraded those affrilizations. I show up as a blue diamond. I am in a position to receive that income from this business if that is God how God chooses to bless me with that business. I mean, isn't that the most ridiculous thing? Like when I say it out loud, but how many times do you have something that's ridiculous that's going on in your life? And then you learn that it was ridiculous, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was in such a state of ingratitude for that. Um, okay, so writing out that affirmation, but with that too, I got really clear on how I wanted to show up as a leader with Team Elite and the funness that we are a team of Jeep drivers. We have fun together. We are heli riders. We earn that Ruby boot camp and we take those helicopter rides and that we earn the vacations and we earn the diamond vacations, those elite vacay vibers. Like we do that. We're growing that. And now after the Eric Worre, like blessing 1,000 six-figure income earners and blessing 100 seven-figure income earners to where people are, writing out their testimonials. They're shouting us out in our stories and on their walls that they're so grateful that we, with our skill sets, that we show up as blue diamonds, right? Even before we're there, that we have helped them make that next level in their thing. So I got really clear on it and I wrote it out. Yes, Cassandra, I'll do that again at the end, okay? I got really clear and I wrote it out. And guess what? I wrote it out every single day in my journal with God. I wrote it out and it pivoted a little bit each day based on what I was feeling in that moment. So some of the skill sets of repetition is writing it, and you can write it every day. You can read it, write it once and then read it every day. You can write it out. You can record it and listen to it in your voice every day. That ThinkUp app is really great to that because it can set it to music. And it was amazing. Okay. But the fourth one is really the biggest thing that impacted it is I started focusing on evidence of my why getting achieved. Okay. I had written out all those affirmations. I started reading them. I started being consistent. And guess what? Okay. Guess what? I put my all, I put my all into it. It wasn't 10 hours a day. It was more like, 1 to 3 hours a day. And I showed up consistently and I did the things. And after the first 4 weeks, guess how much my income increased? 0%. And it was so just like, oh my goodness. I was enjoying making $600 a month practically doing nothing. And now I've put in all of this energy and this consistency and I showed up and I was no better off financially. But it was a good thing that I wrote in one of my affirmations that I work to double my talents. Okay. And that God is the one who blesses me and pays me. And yes, he pays me in money, but he pays me in blessings too. But oh my goodness, I had been looking for evidence that this didn't work. I mean, that would have been easy. Would it not have been easy to say, oh, this doesn't work? but I knew it worked and I looked for evidence that it worked. And I had people on the hook, so to speak, that were almost ready to say yes to the business, almost ready to say yes to ordering. And then the very next month, we had dropped a sale and I had reached out to so many people about the sale and I was in so many conversations. And one of the affirlizations that I wrote out was that I plug into the systems. And I had so many people that, I'm grateful Jen Lori is my direct person. And I'm also grateful that she shows up for us. It doesn't she doesn't have to be direct to you to show up. Like she has the biggest heart to serve, and I'm so grateful for that. And I also said that in my affirmations, the gratitude for her, okay? The gratitude for the mentors and things like that. Um, and it was the last day of the month. And guess how much new business I had? One order that month, you guys. One order. So do you think my rank had changed on the last day of the month? And the old me with my stress response would have been like, what? This month isn't the month. These will happen next month. Because that pressure, that month end pressure is so stressful that my stress response was to flee, remember? But I was like, nope. And I breathed it in and I followed up with all the people. There are scripts in the High Vibe Tribe that talked about closing scripts. And I reached out to all the people. And I can't remember exactly how many, but I think I closed like 4 or 5 people of customers that month on the month end, literally calling Trinant because there were some glitches happening and things happening and getting on the phone. And that month, my income grew from the $600 to the $1,200. I was able to get my top account to Opal and my bottom account to Jade. Whew. But guess how many people I had recruited? A zero. So I could have also used that because what the best way to have that 400% growth is to have people on the team that have that vision, that have that desire, that have the willingness, as Eric Worre said, to keep buying more time in the business to learn and to grow and to plug into things like this. But that very next month is when I had like one person join, okay? And then the next month, that's where I had the rock stars join, okay? That's where I had Val come in and join. That's where I had Roseanne come in and join. And they were showing up and they were sharing. And now I just multiplied myself from one person working consistently to 3 people working consistently, okay? So that was uh, I started focusing on evidence that this was working. The last one, and I'll be brief with this one because I feel like it's preaching to the choir, but I invested in myself by attending calls and events, and I took action from those calls. So I'm going to challenge you to take action from this call today, even if it's one simple creating an affirmation that you commit to read every single day, like something, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But in that 6 month time, what initiated it was I attended convention and I learned all about menopause. And that actually validated something in me that I really was beating myself up for having been a marathoner to having to have been somebody who struggled to get out of bed. And I learning about menopause and realizing, oh my goodness, like the medical industry failed me. Because had I learned what I knew now and was able to support all the things that I've learned now, then I might not have crashed and burned. But I also know that God gives us these things so we can use them to help other people. And so that just like it like healed something in me. It like gave me forgiveness. I then I went to Tina Joy Carroll's event in Nashville and I was nervous. I wanted to go, but it was right around the same time that my daughter-in-law was going to be having her baby and I was not going to miss my first grandchild. I had missed things in my previous businesses that I wished I wouldn't have missed. And I was not going to miss it. So I talked to my husband about it. I said, hey, I'm going to invest in this and I may not go because if it happens to happen at the same time my grandbaby is being born, then I am not doing that. And guess what? It didn't happen that way. And I went there. And from there, I invested in somebody outside of Trinant, Rob Speary. And I paid for that VIP thing. So that way I had daily access to him. And that really helped me through the birth of my grandchild to be able to show up consistently, but not get tunnel vision and not focus on my grand. Like I was able to enjoy my grandson. And during that time, was I the next event that I did, and this one I waited until last minute, so I paid a little bit more because it really was right after my grandson's due date, was the Modesto thing with the power players. But I did that as well. And then I went to just this last October, I went to the Leadership Academy. But the biggest thing about all those things, because how many of you guys have gone to an event like I did in the past and didn't necessarily take action on those things? Okay. The whole key to attending these events, attending these calls is that you learn something, that you have an aha and you take action. So I want to go ahead real quick. I'm going to answer Cassandra's question. If there's another question in the chat, uh, remind me. I'll open it up for everyone to unmute. And I want to go ahead and get your ahas. And remember, as you share these ahas, that's going to create an emotion in you, that emotional memory that's going to help you write out that affirmation. So, Cassandra, the affirmation is a typical mindset thing. Like, I am a six-figure income earner. Like, that's a typical affirmation. But now you're going to write it as if you already, that you're grateful that you're a six-figure income earner, and you're going to attach emotion to it. Like, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, I'm so excited, I'm jazzed up, I'm lit up. Whatever, however you want to express that emotion, you attach that emotion. And the biggest way to success is to write out an affirmation of the consistency things, the mundane things. Like for me, it was showing up on social media. That was like nailed on a chalkboard. I knew that God kept calling me to do it, but I started saying that, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful and that it brings me joy and that it energizes me when I put out those reels on social media. And I repeated that every single day. And guess what? Now I get excited and I get energized and I have fun doing those mundane things. I have fun reaching out to people, creating new conversations. I have fun inviting people. I have fun reminding people and following up with people because I kind of created that. So before we do questions real quickly, I want to open it up and share some aha moments that you got with this. And can I ask too, can anyone make sure if you haven't already yet, take some pictures and things of this? And then if something is an aha moment for you, post it in your stories and tag me or tag whoever, because I'm going to open it up now to other people's ahas. Tag whoever helped you with that aha. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up now for aha moments from the wins from the beginning, from what I shared, and then from what other people share on aha moments too, if that that adds to your aha. So if you guys want to unmute and share some aha moments, and again, remember the emotions, think about the emotion you feel as you share this aha moment. Christine, you have your hand
Okay,
up.
yeah. Okay, so where you were saying that when you started with Trinant and you were like, no, I'm not even going anywhere with this kind of thing, right? I definitely had a lot of conversations about the fact that I've had to learn a lot about myself and grow within myself in order to start growing my business. And that's exactly where I am. I even had the conversation with Jen yesterday about 2006 is going to be my year because I have slowly taken those steps over these last almost 3 years in growing myself and kind of stepping back, but doing the things that I need for myself to be able to achieve that. So that's why I was like, preach it, girl, preach it, because that's where I was at.
Yes. And so a great like affirmation around that is you can be like, Man, 2026 is my year because I'm so grateful and blessed that I have learned the skills that I have needed and that I execute them. Like something like that, right? Like you can use your words that feels comfortable with you, but yeah, absolutely. I love that. Love that. All right, who else has an aha moment? Man, cricket sounds like I did a bad job, you guys. Maybe it's too personal and you don't want to share. I'm gonna pick on Amanda because I know she always gets it. She always gets an aha. I can't hear.
You're gonna pick on me?
Yes, because I know you always get the ahas.
I do always get the ahas. And I think when it comes to this, I'm like, there's quite a few, and I don't know where to funnel which one, you know? Um, I think I think it was number 4 that really resonated with me the most, and I don't remember how you titled it. And I was cooking, so I didn't write it down. So what was number
Starting
4 again?
focusing on evidence that that my goals are on their way, that I am called to be here, that this is the right place for me to be.
Yeah. I think that one just it resonates with me a little bit more because I feel like I'm always shoveling sand in everything I do, from the kids to even here. And so I think even seeing that there's steps forward, I think me just recognizing that really would change my mindset and my heart to know that I'm doing something that's worthy.
Yes. And so telling yourself that every day, I am so grateful and thankful that I'm doing something worthy and I look for evidence and I see the evidence. I focus on the evidence and that drives me to continue. That type of a thing would be something that you could easily write out and write it down and then
Yeah.
repeat it every day. And then I
Yeah.
know Lori put in the chat, emotions to affirmations are huge on mindset, but is that missing piece? Cassandra says, same over here, Lori. And Cassandra, she cannot unmute because she has a sick kiddo, which is totally a-okay. If you're watching this recording, I would love for you to go into our Team Elite chat if that's where you're at, or if you're in the High Vibe Tribe chat and share your aha takeaway. Feel free, like I said, post it in your stories, post it on your wall, whatever it is that and then remember that emotion, okay? And then write out an affirmation around that and start repeating it every single day. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do, oh, is there any questions before we hop off and I close it out? Okay. I want to do something that I don't know why it's uncomfortable for me because I pray all the time, but I do love that Tina Joy Carroll ends it in prayer. And I know that Jennifer Dowd ends it in prayer sometimes. So I just want to go ahead and close this out in a prayer. And so if you guys want to join me in prayer, you're welcome to do that. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for those that showed up to learn, support me, and be able to make an impact in this world. And thank you so much, God, for those that are watching this recording. Please bless us all to be able to feel these emotions that bring our vibration high, to give us the energy to help us enjoy what we're doing, to help us have confidence in what we're doing, to help us to be able to repeat day in and day out the things that we're doing. So that way we can bless people in their lives, that we can bless people to have the health that they need so they can shine their light and to be able to bless the people that need this income so they can come here and have the income that they need, that they can make an impact on their life, their families' lives, for all the lives of those that thou puts in front of us. And we're just so grateful and thankful that we have fun together, that we get to drive Jeeps and we get to go on vacations and we get to attend events and we just get to connect. And we're just grateful for the skills that we're learning, that we take action on those skills. And please bless the person who is sitting in a stress response system, that they can breathe and connect with thee, and that they can get out of whatever that stress response system is, so that way they can take action, so that way they can make that impact, that thou blesses them with their God-given strengths. Please bless us all, know that we don't have to be perfect to take action, that as we take action consistently, we can refine it, and it will become closer and closer and closer to what thou wants us to be doing and saying and showing up. And we're so grateful and blessed that thou already has everything we want waiting and ready for us to receive, and that we receive it, that we get to a place where we can accept and receive those blessings. And we thank thee, Lord, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.